Life can sometimes break us, and we might even feel like we are holding the pieces of ourselves, wondering if we'll ever be put together. What's the glue that holds you together when everything shatters? Welcome back to the Unfiltered Truths. It's a brand new week or end of week. I don't know. I think it's a brand new week for me. Anyway, speaking to you is your host, Sandra. And on this podcast, we talk about real, raw life conversations that happen to real human beings. I'm enthusiast for human experience, and that's what I do on this podcast. Speak about life, the lows, the highs, messy, awkward, and everything in between that goes on. So if you are new here, welcome, buckle up, because these conversations are really, really good for your soul. And please remember to subscribe. That's only way we grow and reach many people. For those that have been here from the beginning, I can't say this enough. Thank you. Let's keep watching, commenting, sharing, and just being interactive in the comment section. I really love that so much. So today, the human experience enthusiast is going to be talking about the art of mending. If the intro resonated with you, if you feel you've been in a point of your life where your life shattered in one go or over time in many ways, that you could not hold the pieces and put them back together, this is the place for you to be at. And just right there, I want you to enjoy the episode. But the fact that you're here and this conversation feels like something that has happened to you or will happen to you, or you know someone who has experienced it, I want us to do one thing. Place your hand on your chest, just like this. Do you feel that steady or unsteady beat? Exactly. That shows that you are here and there is nothing that you cannot do. The fact that you're here feeling that beat, all is going to be fine. So today I'm going to be talking about the art of mending when things have fallen apart, or what would call the resilience kit. Yeah. Ooh, resilience kit. Okay, it sounds nice and bougie. Anyways, what is resilience? What is some of the myth that we hear about resilience? Firstly, I'd want to say resilience isn't about never breaking. Like, its ability is one's ability to bend through a tough time, a storm, not to the point of breaking, bend as far as they could, but still get up when the storm passes, if that makes sense. I think to better put it, I would want to use an analogy of the oak tree and like a bamboo tree, yeah? So the myth about resilience that people have, or something that I've observed, is people always think resilience is all about being like the oak tree. The oak tree is usually strong, tall, doesn't bend when there is a storm and just stays there. While the bamboo tree on the other end, which I want to believe is my definition of resilience, is that tree that's when the storm comes, it's flexible, it bends, bends as far as it can, not to the point where it never breaks, but still has the ability to spring back up when the storm eventually passes. So that's how I define resilience. And that's the one myth that I've seen people attach resilience to. So, yes, that's the kind of conversation that we are going to talk about today. And join me here so that together, me and you can share these experiences and learn from one another. I want to take you on a journey of a personal story where something happened and made me feel like bamboo tree. Yeah. So for a very long time, I had been doing my work. I had a good job. Like I was together, for lack of a better word, like I was well put together. I had a great job. I had stable relationships that include family, friends, and everything in between. I had a good career. Like I felt like my career was thriving. Like basically my social life was busy and wow, like everything seemed okay. At least that's what I always had. So for years I did that and I was okay. I didn't have anything to worry about. And then particular year, this one particular year, the script flipped. Didn't flip once. It must have flipped over 10,000 times. I remember I was out of a job, just out of the blue. Organizations at the time were downsizing. There was a pandemic and so much was really happening and I didn't have a livelihood. So I didn't have a job and my relationships were a bit shaky. Things were going on in my family, with my friends. Everything in between was also not working. Everything in between. Ask me nicely. I'll tell you in the comment section. Anyways, friends, acquaintances, clients, like everything was falling apart. And to make matters worse, I was unwell, very unwell, from a lot of things. I also had family members that weren't doing okay. They were either drowning in debt, drowning in sickness, or we had lost someone and we just like so much was going on. And on this one Tuesday morning, I'll never forget, at about 8:47 in the AM, it was cold on the outside. There were drizzles of rain, and I walked to the kitchen trying to make myself coffee. And as soon as I turned on the machine like this, I remember getting my coffee mug and it slipped through my hands. And before I knew it, I slid to the kitchen floor with a deep, loud sob. It felt as though someone had banged me with something so sharp that it caused this excruciating pain that I couldn't bear. That's how I felt. It was one loud, deep sob, extremely painful, like excruciating, as being skinned alive. And I remember whispering, murmuring, what do I do now? What do I do now? I think I said that statement like a couple of times. Nothing in that moment made sense, could put me together. Everyone had a perception or a thought of who I am. My life is good, I'm held together, I am strong, and all those things. But I think for that entire period, I think I was trying to be an oak tree. But that day, I snapped on the kitchen floor. So I remember sitting there for a couple of hours. My mug actually broke because it was a glass mug, and I was in the midst of my shattered glass with spilled coffee on the floor. So in that moment, I needed to get up. I needed to find ways of being together. So that takes me to the point where I'll talk about the first aid kit, all the tools that we use, all the tools that we can use when we are in that moment, when everything we've held dearly, thought of, love, everything shatters to the ground, and we just don't know what to do with the pieces that are all over the floor. For example, in my case, so in that moment, my nervous system was all over the place. So nothing like a big logical, philosophical thinking, theory, whatever could actually put me back together. So in that moment when you are on the floor, just like I was, you don't need those grand, I don't know, pieces of advice. You just need tools, first aid things that can get you out of danger, because that is danger. You're in danger. So you want to have your life out of a life-threatening situation, just like that was. So it was like a 911 situation. And yeah, we need first aid. So in that moment, you don't need philosophical advice. What you need is to calm your nervous system down, control the basics, which is your body, calm your nervous system down, and start from there. So what did I do? For the friends that showed up in that moment, because I remember I have a friend of mine who's on speed dial, and I just called. I couldn't say a word, but I think they read in between the lines and showed up. So when they came, I remember them asking me to breathe. Like I needed to anchor my breath such that my body can signal to my nervous system that it's okay and we have this under control. And that's exactly what I did. Taking in deep breaths, breathing out, focusing on the breath in and breathing out a couple of times is what can help you. It's like one of the first things that we do. It's just like when you're going through, like, because in that moment you're like anxious, you're panicky. So you need to calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. And that's a basic thing that you can do. Don't tell me about the advice, you got this, da, 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 da. Like I don't need any of that. And no one does. Yeah. So in that moment, just anchor your breath and calm yourself down. It's not your fault, by the way. It's a biological response to everything that's happening. So don't feel bad, just calm down. So the next step in that moment is to, I think therapists in psychology, they use it like it's a Tethering Method, whereby they ask you, it's more of like bringing all your focus in the present moment, not wondering, oh my God, I wish I had this, I wish I did that. No, that in that moment doesn't help you. So the tethering method is to bring all your focus to the present moment, and things like the 5 things that you need to, like, you can do, like 5 things that you see in that room, Um, you also need like to identify 4 things that you feel. It could be the skin, the air on your skin, or the shirt that you're wearing, or the flow. Like what do you feel on the floor? Like 4 things that you feel. Uh, what are the 3 things that you see? Do you see any 3 things around you? Are you able to smell some 2 things? Yeah. And then one thing that you can test. So in the tether method is just to bring your brain back to focus. Because remember, in that moment, you're all over the place, your scattered mind, your scattered thoughts, like everything in your life and your well-being, like in your entire being is scattered, it's all over the place. So just gathering yourself and coming to one central focused area is what you want to do. And then another tool that we can use during that moment, for example, I was now on the floor, everything was a mess and all those things, is what I would call a 1 brick method. Why I call it 1 brick method is the whole point is not trying to like solve and gather yourself in one go, because that's already hard. It feels like impossible because right now you are broken down. Yeah. When you hit rock bottom, you don't want to try and build the full house. Like, look for small actions that point you in a direction that signal that you still have some control, regardless of what's happening, like regardless of what's going on around you. So in that moment, it could be things like getting a glass of water and drinking it, or washing your face, or just saying, getting up. Yeah. So that's another tool that you use. So it's more like it's a life-threatening situation. So we give first aid to preserve life. So which is going to be anchoring your breath, tethering, and building that 1 brick. So now that when you are much calmer and you have some bit of control, you need to get on a lifelong rebuild journey, one that points you to a direction of healing. And now that's where these other deeper stuff come in, yeah, to help us and give us that full-blown kit for being the resilient human being that we want to be. So on that lifelong journey, you're going now to get deeper, yeah. You're going to do an archaeology of the heart, like you're going to name exactly what the enemy is, like dig deep and find out what the deeper issue is. For example, remember I was laid off, and in that moment I was jobless. So I needed to get to the deep core issue that is making me hit rock bottom. Because I was laid off, I began to think maybe I wasn't enough. Yeah. And to what degree is me not being enough true? Is it true or isn't it true? If it was true that I wasn't enough, then that meant that I wasn't going to succeed. And if I didn't succeed, I would end up being forgotten. I would end up being alone. So I think the deep core enemy or issue here was fear of being lonely alone and forgotten. It wasn't even about not having a job, having all these sick, ill members and all those things. It was just a matter of being alone and forgotten. And when you are able to now zero down and point down to what the key issue is, you're going to be able to work towards the point of healing. How do I come out of a mindset that tells me that I'm alone and I'm going to be forgotten? So that's what we do in that naming the enemy, or what I would call like archaeology. Archaeology is like digging up stuff, yeah? Like you dig deep and peel off these layers and get to the deep rooted issue. That's what the first tool for doing the lifelong resilience kit journey. So the other tool that we can use in our lifelong rebuild of the resilience journey is appoint worry. It sounds vague, it sounds strange, but trust me, it does work. Because there's so many thoughts going on in your mind, you're constantly worried about this, about that. How are you going to feed? How are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to be able to continue with your responsibilities? Because in that moment, I was no longer having a job and so many things was going on in my mind. So yes, schedule a time where you're like, you know what, between 5 and 6, I have an hour to worry. That's where you go and like worry about all these things. Yeah. So when something worrisome pops up in your mind, be like, worry, I see you, but we have a meeting at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Actually do that. And these days initially in the beginning, I used to feel like I was weird, but because I know these things actually do work, yeah, so I have time when I do worry. Like that's the time when I think about all these alignments, all these deadlines, all those things, everything that hasn't gone right. That's the time when I do that. So appoint worry time. So as we get to the end of this episode, I want you to take one thing with you today. Resilience is never about not breaking. Resilience is about being able to stand when the storm has passed. Bend as far as you can, but spring back up when the storm goes. And remember, in the moments when everything has shattered to a point whereby you're holding the pieces in your hands and you don't know what to do, start with simple actions. Anchor your breath. Tether, build one brick. When you're ready and set to go on a lifelong resilience rebuild, make an appointment for worry and have a perspective ladder. What I mean by a perspective ladder is when you look up and down, what do you see? So start by looking down. When you look down, no matter how bad things seem, look, or sound, it's not all that bad. This is not to minimize the pain or the situation that you're in, but it's to give room for small gratitude. And when you look up, focus on the one small step that you can start with to point you in the direction forward. You don't have to see the entire staircase ahead of you. That's the message I want to leave for you today. In a world that is filled with storms, that is filled with uncertainty, that will leave us in manners and ways that will break and shatter us. This is the kind of message I want to share with you today. It worked for me in the past. It still does work for me. And I know it is still working for me. If you feel like this message resonated with you in one way or the other, please give it a thumbs up. Like I always say, thumbs up just signals that this conversation is very important. It does matter and it will reach as many people as possible. We all want to be like the bamboo tree. Don't try to be an oak tree in a world that requires or deserves to have a bamboo tree. Thank you for listening in and for watching me. Until next time, bye.
I value the time you've put in to watch this video. Thank you so much from my heart of hearts. If this message resonated with you in one way or the other, please subscribe. The purpose of this podcast is to bring hope, restoration, and resilience. Let's share this video with every one of us that we know is going through something and needs comfort